Scotland travel.
Now, back in September, the Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn surprised some political analysts by using part of his conference speech to talk about robots.
We need urgently to face the challenge of automation, robotics that could make so much of contemporary work redundant. That is a threat in the hands of the greedy, but it's a huge opportunity if managed in the interests of society as a whole. If they're publicly managed to share the benefits, they can be the gateway for a new settlement between work and leisure.
Well, his speech was interpreted by some as moving towards a policy of higher taxation on companies that profit from automation. But a new report published today by the free market think tank, the Centre for Policy Studies, suggests taxation isn't the answer. Joining me now is the Head of Economic Research at the Centre, Daniel Mahoney. Hello.
Good morning. So
if taxation isn't the answer, what is?
Well, we very much think that there are a lot of benefits that could come from this next stage of mechanisation, the so-called fourth industrial revolution. I think there are two key things, which is why we should embrace this. If you look at the UK's economy, we're very much undercapitalised. So if you compare the number of robots per employee in the manufacturing sector, there are only 70 of those in the UK compared to 300 in Germany. So that's hampering productivity and hampering wage growth. And also, if you set up measures, whether that's a robot tax or other measures, perhaps putting robots in the ownership of employees, you'll encourage economic activity to locate elsewhere, and that obviously has implications for our tax base.
It should be said that the Labour Party have told us that they've got no plans for a robot tax, and they never have had. But the point remains that you have to find some way of taxing that additional productivity, don't you?
When you say taxing that additional productivity, I mean, we have a corporation tax rate which taxes profits. I don't see what's wrong with that. I think it's right that, obviously, businesses pay the correct amount of tax, but I don't see what's wrong with that. And I think if there are any moves to additional taxation on, as you say, productivity or on robots, or trying to take ownership of robots out of employers, you'll just simply encourage investors not to invest in capital, and that will have detrimental consequences for UK workers and the UK economy.
But the workers will already have detrimental consequences. If an employer, I mean, just to take an example, if an employer has 100 employees and decides that he'll replace half of them by robots and get larger profits, 50 people are out of a job and he's got more profit. Now, somewhere the government's going to have to step in and make sure those 50 people are provided for, and they want to take their money from the owner of the business, don't they?
Okay, well, if we look at the potential employment impacts of mechanisation, which I think is at the heart of your question, we looked at this very closely, and what's very likely to happen is that the net effect will actually be neutral. So, yes, jobs will be lost, but you'll have the equivalent jobs gained. And it's important to know at the moment, every year, around 10% of jobs are lost and 10% of jobs are created. And actually that change, that sort of churn, if you like, is actually much lower now than it was in the recent past. So I think some of the slight scaremongering that we've had about the employment effects have been slightly misplaced.
Yeah, except that, and again, to use a very practical demonstration of this, people are losing jobs often in what were quite highly skilled or highly paid manufacturing industries, and they're picking them up in much less highly paid and much less secure service industries.
Yeah, so there is obviously some change, but I think 2 points to note on that. The first is that the UK is not as exposed to that sort of change as other countries. So Germany, for example, has a much higher proportion of its employment in manufacturing. And I think the second point is that, yes, there will be these changes. So you really need to focus on the skills and training system to make sure that people can be retrained, and very much an emphasis on lifelong learning. So that's the way to tackle that. Not if we go down the path of blocking mechanisation, as I say, it will just encourage economic activity to locate elsewhere, and that will be very detrimental to our tax base to pay for public services.
Daniel Mahoney, the Head of Economic Research at the Centre for Policy Studies. Thanks very much. It's 9 minutes to 7.
Two big energy